I'm Alex. I've been living since the pandemic in this 22-foot Airstream. It's a Sport 22 FB, and it's been pretty nice. I can't complain, honestly. I had done a lot of research, and number one, I had been obsessed with Airstream since I was a kid. So it was on a bucket list. I just didn't think I'd be able to do something like this until retirement. But 2 months before the pandemic, I bought it at the time, really intending to use it for weekend trips and head to the coast and hit Mount Hood like we are now. But then the pandy hit, and since the pandy hit, I already had the trailer. I moved it out to Sauvie Island, and I was working from there for about a month and a half before I just decided to take off, and I've been traveling since. I'm an insurance underwriter, which isn't terribly sexy, but it is now that I'm able to basically do it from anywhere. Throughout the pandemic, since it was I couldn't just roll into towns and roll into some dive bar and make friends. I basically just went between national park to national monument to national park. So I stayed in some ridiculously beautiful places. At one point I was in front of a waterfall on a Zoom call, and they were complimenting my live wallpaper that I had in the back. And I was I stood up from my chair. I'm like, no, this shit's real. I'm here. This is how I'm living. So it's been really nice. I'm so accustomed to being around people and kind of feeling the need for people. I was always the kind of person, even in my 30s, if I was home on a Friday or Saturday night, I felt that FOMO, I felt all the shit that's going down that I'm missing out on. And it would kind of I would never take it easily. I just always felt I had to be in the thick of things. And this has really caused me to kind of slow down, realize just how much of an introvert I have in me. I thought I was a full extrovert, and it's really a 60, not even a 55-45 split. And I know now, I don't want to live in a city. I want to live, I want acreage, and I want it to be an hour or two outside of a major city, so that if I want to do city shit, I can go do city shit. Just put a few miles on the truck and go do that. But if some shit goes down and people get ridiculous, I'm not in that. I don't have some homogenous bullshit house that's just looks like everyone else's house around me. And I have my own beautiful little chunk of land and property that I can enjoy. And, I think honestly that would be the shit. Either here in the US, and if not, possibly abroad, do all this. Because I've already seen this side of the globe, I feel pretty heavily. And there's not much left to explore. There's always a lot left to explore, but I only have so many years, so I kind of want to spend this second half of my life maybe on the other side of the planet, just base myself somewhere in Europe and yeah, do this shit, but over there. But I gotta tell you, the universe likes to fuck with me. And during this entire experience, it has really just been it's really felt like it's working with me. It's just it felt sorry for me. It was all right, let's let this motherfucker just get away with some stuff. So it's honestly a lot of the pitfalls that I've seen people deal with, that I've seen in other videos like this one, and that I even saw in a couple of years. I saw the one where you talk about all the times you got stuck. I like that one. But I honestly have not had an instance like that. I have definitely gone up a ways where at one point I was holy shit, I've made a huge mistake. I'm gonna destroy my trailer, but there's no way to turn around, so I'm just gonna keep going slowly, and manage to get into these spots each time that have garnered attention to where people stop at my site and they're like, how did you get this here? So ultimately I chose an Airstream in general. To be honest, I would have bought an Airstream even if it was the worst financial decision ever, because I wanted one. Since I was a kid, I think I was driving with my family from Miami to Orlando to go to Disney World, and one of them flew by us on the highway, and I was just left kind of mesmerized, what the hell, what is that? So I always wanted one. Luckily, Airstreams are one of the only RVs that really hold their value. And one of the things in my, cause I'm slightly OCD when it comes to things that I'm interested in. So I'll do an obsessive amount of research on it. And these Airstreams have like a depreciation curve where if you're able to get one, like this one's a 2016, I bought it in 2020 at the beginning of, and like, if you buy one that's like basically got like 4 years on it, it sees its like steepest depreciation in those first 4 years. So, and at that point after which it like basically has almost like a 10-year span where it kind of plateaus to where like you can buy a 4-year-old Airstream. This one was even like certified used, like it still like looked like it was like just rolled out of the factory, and like you can basically buy it at that point, have it for a decade almost, and it would then sell it for basically what you bought it for. I bought mine right before the pandemic, and I basically out the door paid just a little over 35 grand for this thing. These things sell for like 65 sticker. I mean, you could always like talk that down, but since the pandemic hit, these things are selling for MSRP. They're not, before you used to want to buy a 33-foot classic and it would be a sticker price of 135 and you could talk it down to 105, you know, like all said and done out the door. And that was their top of the line flagship. Now they're selling for that 135, 139 or whatever, and people are just eating it because the inventory is what it is. Another thing that I really wanted it to, 2016 was actually kind of it was a sacrifice in a way, because the 2017 model had a lot of things that this one didn't. You know, it automatically came with like a, you know, deadbolt lock on the door. It had a window in the door, which this one doesn't have that either. So there were a few things that were kind of nice. It even had like this setup to like, you know, where you can just kind of lift the bed on a hinge to access your storage. I just have like a little door that I have to crawl in there to get stuff. But in 2016, and it might even be a case where like I could have gotten away with it 2017. I don't know exactly when Thor took over, but basically this company Thor Industries that owns Jayco and all these other like common trailers like bought Airstream. So since then they've like ramped up production, and like if you have the same size facility and the same amount of hands and you're pumping out 2 times, 3 times as many trailers in a year, I have to believe that quality is suffering. You know what I mean? That it's going to be an inferior product at the end of the day. So I just felt particularly good. I mean, it's not one of the Airstream tanks that were built in the 50s and 60s. But as far as trailers go, I mean, this thing is solid. There were just a few things in it, like it had like these like kind of foggy plexiglass dividers that kind of created some separation between the bedroom and the kind of galley dinette area. And those things were just constantly getting like rattled out of place, and I'd park in some place and go to like access the trailer to like try to, you know, figure out how I need to level it. And those things would just be like, you know, on the floor or like, you know, whatever. It was just a mission. It was every time they were falling out. So I just took them out. I made a few changes, but not much. I mean, again, I've only had this thing for like, you know, a year and a few months or a year and a half, whatever, how long it is. I've lost track. The main thing I did was the dinette had to go. The dinette occupied so much space, and it was really for like a couple and maybe 2 kids to sit comfortably. I sat in that thing maybe 15 times over the course of a year, and I wanted to get rid of that dinette like month 3, but I was already away from Oregon, where I have a storage unit where I put the rest of my life. And basically, like I was trying to buy time to get back to Oregon to put it in there, and I didn't make it. I think I was in Arizona, and I just made friends with an RV camp host that I made mention of it. He said that he could make use of it, and I literally, like, you can sell that for like $2 grand. Just pull it out, sell it for 3 grand. And I just gifted it to him, minus like the pedestal for the table, which I still make use of, and 1 cushion that I use as a backrest along this window, like when I want to sit there. But the rest of it, I just gave it away just to make room. And then I had this exposed wheel well, so I kind of built out a base, you know, with hand tools. So it looks slightly rustic, and the stain is whatever. I hate finishing stuff. I like just building shit and then let someone else make it like pretty or whatever. It's just, it requires a patience that's not in my DNA. I don't know. But I built out this base, and then I bought like just like kind of what was meant to be like kind of like a storage bench, and I installed that on top of the base and just added extra storage. It made it feel like there's a dresser in there, and let me put a few knickknacks on top, which made it feel more homey. And I put a a too big recliner in there. It's like for the amount of space that I have, but I give a shit. I mean, it's really designed it's set up for one person to be comfortable. If someone else is there, like, they should just, I don't know, just be happy that they can just hang out, you know, like, it's not set up for them, you know, it's me and my dogs, and even at that, the dogs are kind of invasive. But I do have solar. I have, if you can tell, my self-installed flexible panel up there, 175 watts. The 175 is enough, like, when the weather's fine. I don't exactly have a huge battery bank. I have two 6-volt, like, you know, golf cart batteries, but with, like, you know, however many, like 220 amp hours, whatever. So I've been getting by on that. I do have a Honda generator, which I use, you know, to top off, and to, like, I was using it kind of obsessively, like whenever I wanted to watch TV or whatever, that was the only way. But I bought recently a power station, one of these EcoFlow, like River Pro 600, whatever, which I would give a big thumbs up to. It's been working pretty flawlessly. It charges quickly. I can charge it if I'm, like, on a long drive. I can just, because I have an inverter in the truck, so I can plug it into one of the outlets there and charge it while I'm driving. I can charge it with I have a 200 watt Renogy Eclipse, which is supposed to be more efficient. It was just like twice as much. Solar panel, like one of those suitcases. So I use that to really, like, power the power station now. So for the most part, unless I'm going to use the generator for whatever reason, then that charges the thing up like in an hour. So it's like, it's just easy. And even with this, like, you know, kind of insulting truck payment, and with, you know, like the minuscule, like, payment that I really have for the trailer, you know, even with all my other stuff, it's like still a fraction of what I would be spending if I was just in some apartment in downtown Portland still. So it's for me, it's a no-brainer. Like, I really wish that I had the foresight to just set myself up like this in my early 20s, rather than, like, plunging in, buying a house, and just, like, burying myself with, like, credit and, like, bills and bullshit. I mean, the only thing that I really stress about is, like, the consistency of my internet signal. Aside from that, like, a lot of the other stresses have been, like, just kind of removed from my life. So in the end, I would say the balance swings in its favor. You get to be in, like, beautiful places. You can constantly be traveling, especially if you're young. I mean, shit, that should be your jam. You should be all about that. And to be able to, like, you know, if you're able to, like, find a job that allows you to kind of be on the move, if you have that, dude, you've already won. Like, why sit in one place tied to, like, and anchoring yourself to, like, you know, things that you can just, like, look at every day, instead of just, like, hitting the road, like, meeting different people, like, seeing new beautiful things, and actually experiencing life a bit, you know? I would say, like, get out there and, like, look at wildlife, but shit, like, man, they've killed everything. Like, I see more, like, roadkill than I've seen, like, actual wildlife on this trip. But I also haven't gotten to, like, the most, like, you know, like, wildlife ridden places. Like, I still have yet to, like, go to Montana, Wyoming, where I'm expecting to see some shit alive. It better be alive. Y'all don't kill whatever's left over there before I get there. But yeah, no, I mean, I wouldn't, honestly, again, the only regret here is that I didn't think to do this sooner. I would never want to buy a house again. Like, I would never, dude, never. To, like, literally the idea of, even in the most favorable market, of throwing down 300 grand for some spacious home in Albuquerque, let's say, whatever. Yeah, like, it's a manageable mortgage, this and that. Still, like, you have a house that looks exactly like everyone else's house, as homogenous as it could possibly be. You, like, are limited to whatever is within whatever radius of that place for your day-to-day. I just don't get it. I don't get, like, why, especially anyone, like, young with the ability to work remotely, why they would choose that. And anyone, even older folks, I mean, like, I've met a lot of people doing this that were, like, 60, 70, you know, like that. And maybe initially it wasn't even like a conscious, like, decision. It was like they were kind of forced into this situation, and very quickly realized, like, how much richer their lives were, like, living this way. You know, again, I don't see why people like sometimes like just drown themselves to like make something that they were just convinced at an early age was something they were supposed to make happen. As it was, when I was young, I was extremely kind of like, I had a bohemian vein, and I didn't get the whole idea of like working, like why I would work some bullshit job that I don't fucking like to like make money to buy shit that I don't fucking need to like impress people I don't give a fuck about. Like, it just made no sense to me whatsoever. And I fought it as long as I could. And I like to think I took my retirement up front, like really hard. I just didn't do shit except enjoy myself for like, you know, a good while. But then I finally had to succumb. You know, it's like, it starts to catch up to you. And I had to get like regular jobs and just kind of buy into the system. And I love the fact that I've found this avenue where I can kind of skirt the fucking system entirely, where I can have a decent job and do something that I can feel good about, that honestly like provides me like enough to where I can feel I told my boss, if we fought another insurance company, like I would fight for us. Like I would fight for them. I would kill other insurance underwriters and I would love it. I felt good about the job before this whole remote nonsense happened, and when that became a reality, like this was like straight up like winning the lottery for me. So I can't even on the worst day now on the job, I can't even complain. Like I really have no leg to stand on to like, you know, bitch at anybody about like my, you know, whatever. I feel like I'm getting away with something. I probably am.